Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about something that's not really as tactical as just Figma tips or just design system tips. We're talking about accessibility. In this case, like how does a screen reader work, right? I don't know if you've ever seen a screen reader working. I don't know if you know what a screen reader is because unless you needed one and you're a designer that's into accessibility, it's very unlikely that you never really came across like a screen reader. So a screen reader is basically an app that people that have like any kind of visual impairment or actually complete lack of vision use to use a computer, navigate the internet, use web apps, or even any app on the OS. So in terms of Mac, like we're talking about voiceover, and in Windows we're talking about narrator. I'm not 100% sure, like because I haven't been a Windows user for a bit, but I think that's right. Like, let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. So we're gonna start by kicking it off. We have to press Command F5.
VoiceOver on application. Blue camera window. Blue camera. Web content has keyboard focus. You are currently on web content. To enter the web area, press Control Option Shift down arrow.
So you get the drift, right? I'm actually using my website as my portfolio site as an example because I feel like that way it's a bit less touchy for maybe using a website that's not 100% accessible with the screen reader. I did my best and I actually worked a bit on this, like from the code side, to make sure that it's actually fully accessible. There's actually more that I can do, and I'm thinking about that. I have that on the backlog, but I don't know. I think accessibility ends up being like a bit of something that's mandatory, but like low down on the priority level. I don't think it should. I'm done prioritizing in this case very specifically, basically me narrating the website in opposition to letting the screen reader do it. I would ask people, hey, do you want to hear me talking about my website? And that way you have like a human connection, the way that you'd have written text and visuals on the website. But without going too much into that, let's dive into how the screen reader reads your website.
Chrome. Manos Physical Trademark. Manos Physical Trademark. Manos.
Okay.
Website.
It would just go on like automatically if I didn't do anything, but I kind of like stopped it a little bit. And now you can start seeing what I mean, right? Like if you have vision, if you're not visually impaired, you're gonna see there's a logo. So it's important, like when you're writing the code, or even like as a designer, to let developers know, like, can you please like add like these descriptions that allow us to kind of like make the site a little bit more accessible. I think most of this comes naturally if you're using basically what we call semantic HTML, right? If you're using the right HTML tags for the right things, you get a lot of this accessibility built in. But if you don't, or you're using like a very custom thing, you can also fix that using what we call area labels and area roles. In this case, we're talking about the website logo. Let's go like forward, right? So to go forward, you press Control Option right arrow. To go back, you can press Control Option back arrow or left arrow. Let's go.
Website logo image. You are currently on an image. To begin interacting with the contents of this image, press Control Option Shift down arrow.
Control Option Shift down arrow would be if you want to interact with something. In this case, I let it be this way, but it actually doesn't do anything.
End website logo group. You are currently on a group.
Yes, it tells you the beginning of the group and then the end of the group. A group is any kind of like a higher level, like HTML tag on the DOM tree. The DOM tree is basically just in like very simple terms, the order of which things appear on the screen and their relationship to each other. Let's go.
Heading level 1. Hi, my name is Tiago Almeida, product designer based in Stockholm. You are
There we
currently
go.
on heading level 1.
We're currently on a heading level 1, and now you start like kind of like hopefully getting some lights on your brain, like turning on. Oh, it's a heading level 1, and that's why it's important that your text follows like a very good hierarchy of higher level, almost like title level, H1, H2, H3 something inside of an H3 is something inside of H2, and go so on, so on, so on.
Navigation. You are currently in a navigation.
So here's another important one. If you have navigation on a website, you should be using a nav, and that will give you for the screen reader this label, navigation. This is where you navigate the website.
Link. About. You are currently on a link. To click this link, press Control Option Space.
Good. Now you are in a link, and one thing that happened here, and I remember, is that if I didn't actually write an area label, it would actually tell me link about down arrow, because I have a down arrow there visually. But for screen reader users, you don't actually need the down arrow to be narrated, right? So I just wrote a small area label saying about. This is what this link is.
Link. Work. You are currently on a link. Link. Writing. You are visited. Link. Contact. You are currently on a link. To click this link, press Control Option Space.
You heard it, visited. That just means that I clicked on this link before. There we go. Let's continue. End of navigation.
Navigation. End of banner. You are currently on a banner inside web content. To exit this web area, press Control Option Shift up arrow.
So the banner is pretty much the header. Like in HTML, it would be a header. The screen reader, voiceover, I think, and maybe narrator also does that, calls it a banner. Let's continue forward.
You are currently on a main inside web content.
So you see, like you had a header, now you have a main. And that's like continuing the topic of semantic HTML. Like you have the header, which is the top content. Sometimes it's almost even the navigation and the logo. And then you have the main, which is the blunt of the page. And then at the bottom end, you have the footer. And it's important to keep these tags, because now the screen reader knows this is the header, this is the main content, this is the footer. In some websites, when you're using a screen reader or the keyboard to navigate, they will pop as the first thing, like a button that says go to main. And that is like basically a button for keyboard users or screen reader users to jump directly into the article without having to spend time on navigation. Because, hey, if you open an article on a newspaper or an online newspaper, you'll likely want to read the article, not the navigation, because that's a lot of stuff normally. Let's go in deeper.
With information about me, region. You are currently in a region.
Yes, this part I added. I added like a little bit of a area label to the region. In this case, it's a section tag, because I felt like, okay, let's add this region. Let's give it like what it is. It wouldn't have naturally happened. Like, so this is like those little touches that you can give just for the screen reader users to have a nicer experience.
Heading level 2. About. You are currently on heading level 2.
Yeah, you see, like now we're on heading level 2 because you're at heading level 1, so you kind of get the drift.
I collaborate with teams and stakeholders to create projects and design systems, balancing user needs and business value. You are currently on a text element.
Yes, and this is the main difference between using this keyboard navigation for the screen reader and using the typical keyboard navigation of pressing tab. Pressing tab will give you the next interactive element, but the screen reader actually wants to read the content, right? So when you press next on the next screen reader element, you're going to get text, you're going to get anything that exists on the website.
Going in Quisicle on Klarna, period. During my free time, visited, trying to spread love and to visited, link, LinkedIn. You are currently on a link. To click this link, press Control Option Space.
Yes, same thing. This would have said, if I didn't do anything, link, LinkedIn, right arrow. That would be unnecessary.
Visited link. End of section with information about me. Region.
End of the
About
section.
companies and projects that I worked at. Region. You are currently in a region.
Good. This almost brings us to the next thing about screen readers, which is providing alt text, what's called alternative text, to images, right? You see an image here. If you do see well, you know what the image is all about. But this user wouldn't, right? Like, so you need to describe it. And one important thing: don't start with photo of or screenshot of, and you're gonna get why very soon.
Heading level 2. Word. Article. You are currently in an article.
Yes, we are in an article, which is like basically a group of content, in this case, each case study.
Visited. Link. Image. An app display XDR screen showing the Ericsson Security Manager app redesigned with the Ericsson Design System language. You are currently on a link. To click this link, press Control Option Space.
So you see, there's no point on saying it's an image because the screen reader already says image. And so if you describe it like the screen reader will be like image, photo of a, that's a bit redundant, right? Like and people that are more proficient, like I don't use a screen reader all the time. Like I use it to just verify if my stuff is good, if the designs that we're working on in the company are good. But screen reader users would be like wanting to move quickly. The more unnecessary words that you give them, the worse it's going to be for them.
Heading level 3 Ericsson Design System. You are currently on heading level 3.
We were in H1, H2, H3. This gives us like a notion of the hierarchy of the content on the page.
What if a company rebranding could be about more than communication design? That's the question my team at Ericsson got asked. Our reply was a brand new user experience strategy that culminated in an award-winning design system and kickstarting a company-wide mindset shift. You are currently on a text element.
Yeah, just wanted to read it like so that you get like a drift of how a longer paragraph reads.
Heading level 4. Role. You are currently on a heading level 4.
Yes. So this clearly tells the user, oh, okay, so it's heading level 4, it's related to the H3. I'm inside the same section still, and I'm reading like more like fine-grained, more digging deeper into this content.
Senior interaction / visual designer. Heading level 4. Awards.
And now you know that you went back one level, right? Like, oh, okay, heading level 4, now I have the text, now I have another heading level 4, which means that whatever content was before already stopped.
Red dot div design. You are currently on a text element. Visited link. Read more about the Ericsson Design System.
This is
on a link. To click this link, press Control Option Space.
Come on, screen reader. This is another key tip is this visually only says read more, right? Because people see visually, this is the Ericsson Design System, a case study, this is the text, this is the button to read more about the Ericsson Design System. But as a screen reader user, I might have already heard a lot of text and forgot like what the read more is all about. So in this case, I give it the label saying, read more about the Ericsson Design System. And this is a good practice with links. Don't just write read more or click here. Give the screen reader user, actually give normally the recommendation would be give any users a little bit more of context, but especially for screen reader users, it's extremely important. So this is where your decisions come into play, where it's like you can have different levels, right? You can not show something to one type of user, but show something to another type of user, and that just enriches the experience, I think. But I think it's going to be a bit of the same, like going down. You can see we're going to have another article, then we're going to have a forum, and it's like it's really important to just to keep in mind that idea of keeping the right structure, the right semantics, the right hierarchy, and you should be fine. Now, let's go over to Spotify, and because it's a bit different. Spotify now is, instead of a normal website, they actually give you the experience like immediately if you're logged in. And one thing that you're going to notice is we came directly into the main, which in one side it's good practice, and I'm just going to give my opinion here. But someone that's just coming into this website as a designer, I don't have in the insights. I don't know if usability testing was done, and screen reader users said that this was better for them. To me personally, I feel like I came into the Spotify website. I don't know. Like, am I actually doing already something, or do I want to know where I am? Do I want to navigate first and do something after? Like, do I want to go directly into to my main, like whether you have like your playlists and your shows and your made for you? I'm not sure if I know the answer to this. My gut tells me no. I would like to be on the nav first, right? I will have to be on the side nav. So the other thing that you can do with the screen reader, and this is not only for users that don't see, but especially for users that see a little bit worse, and actually use the mouse to focus on something.
Current page, visited, link, image, Spotify, banner. You are currently on a link. To click this link, press Control Option Space.
Yeah, so you see, like I can focus on something. I would feel like maybe this should be the first thing focused, or actually like the group that it belongs to, which is the nav. But let's continue a little bit forward.
End of banner. You are currently in a list.
We are currently on a list. Yes, because I think basically they declared the nav the entire sidebar, which could be also called the site nav.
Current page, visited, link, home. You are link, search, 2 of 3. You
Yes.
are currently on a link. To click this link, press Control Option link, your library. You are currently on a link. To click this link, press Control Option Space. Enter list. Create playlist, button, group. You are currently on a button, group. To click this button, press Control Option Space.
Okay, good.
Link, like songs, link,
Good.
episodes, link, your episodes. Your list your top songs 2022 Jazz Selection Collaborative Playlist. Your top songs 2021 Sylvana plus Tico Synthwave Collaborative Playlist. Anime Collaborative Playlist. Bare Metal Games Tuga Punk Sky Emo Light from Radio Release Radar 13 items. You are currently in a list.
Yeah, you kind of like getting what I'm gonna talk about, right? It's a bit confusing, right? Like, why do all the lists before it just say list? Why did they choose to put like all of the internal names of elements in that unordered list, normally called an OL, that then has LI elements? Why not just do the same thing as you did before? It's a list, then let people navigate inside it. Because all of this blah 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 blah, I'm not sure if like this helps the screen reader user.
Link, Jazz Selection.
And then they continue
You are
navigating and
link.
get the
To click
exact
this
same
link,
thing.
press Control Option Space. Link, Synthwave, 5 of 13. Collaborative Playlist, empty group. You are currently in an empty group.
This one is, I feel like it's my logo with the empty group. I understand why this happens, and I also chose to make it happen. But I feel like this could have, since it's an icon and screen reader users don't know, it could have said something like icon. This is a collaborative playlist. Like say out loud the name of the list naturally, and then say this is a collaborative playlist. Maybe you don't even need the icon, just by navigating you'd get that, or just make area hidden and then you put that on the list label, like list name, and then you say this is a collaborative playlist. That would have been a bit more useful, I think, for screen reader users.
Link, link. List your top songs 2000. Link, install app. You are currently on a link. To click this link, press Control Option Space.
Yes. I just want to continue a little bit forward.
Resize main navigation.
Now we're inside the main navigation.
230. Resize main navigation. Slot end of main footer. You are currently on a footer inside web content.
Yes. Now we're in the footer, right? So I don't know. I feel like I have don't have the context, but if we didn't start with the start, which is the nav, I would feel like maybe the bottom one would be more important, especially if you already have, like I have here, something that was playing, right? You had something that was playing. You want to do what? You want to probably continue listening to that or stop that if it was playing. So I feel like if any decision was made to prioritize something first, this would have probably been it, right? But again, just my opinion.
Now playing Cascades by Oliver Nelson. Content information. You are currently in a content information.
Okay, good.
Link. Now playing Cascades by Oliver Nelson. Expand button. Link. Cascades. You are currently on a link. To click this link, press Control Option Space.
Here's where like a little bit of extra information would have been useful. Cascades, that's the name of the album, right? So the link should be like link Cascades album title, and then it's like click this link to get to the album, right? It could have been a bit more also about what's going to happen when you click this link. I think it goes the same way.
You are
Or
currently on a link. To click this link, press Control Option Space.
could have been like something that refers that this is the author name or the artist name.
Save to your library. Off switch. You are
Now
currently on a switch.
this one is curious
Press Control Option Space.
because it's a switch, right? You normally associate the switch with one of those ball with a little track where you click it goes on off. It is a switch though, like semantically, because one of the main differences between a switch or a toggle and a checkbox or a radio is that a switch is something that as soon as you click it, that setting is on, right? You don't need to save a page for that setting to come on. That's why you use a switch. When you have a checkbox, it normally lets you know that, hey, in order for this checkbox to do anything, you first need to go to the submit button on the form that normally is called like a save changes or something like that. Even though sometimes it's not clearly a form, it's actually a form, like behind the mask, like behind the UI. It's actually sending a form with the settings saved so that the backend saves the settings. In this case, of course, it's a switch because as soon as I click that, this song is my favorite song.
Expanded button group. You are currently on a button group. To click this button, press Control Option Space. Collapsed button player controls group. You are currently in a group. Disable shuffle on switch. Previous play expanded button. Next expanded enable repeat unticked tick box. Enable repeat unticked tick box. Change progress. You are currently on a text element.
Here's where I would enrich it a little bit also. Like we know the time that it passes if we actually have like normal vision, right? So why not just you give some hint of what the time is, or give them like a little bit of instruction that they can toggle this time.
1:30/5:31. Change progress. Slider. You are currently on a slider.
Yeah.
To start interacting with the slider, press Control Option Shift down arrow.
You actually saw now that what I was saying, like it gives us information that 130 out of 531. It just because it's just reading the numbers that are part of this element and not actually having a label that was crafted manually by the developer to actually like space it off a little bit. 130 minutes out of instead of just being like machine like, a little bit more human like, same way that we do with the UI for the screen reader users.
5. Third random. 2. Expanded button. 2. Collapsed mute.
Yes.
Mute. 1. Change lock full screen. Full screen.
Now
Spotify web player music for everyone.
there's a
You are currently on a main inside web content.
there's a current consideration that I have here, which is like for a non-screen reader user, for like a user that like has all of their accessibility needs met by default without needing extra help. I think it's very easy to go to the settings, right? Now, as a screen reader user, it's actually rather hard to go to the settings. I would have to like boom, 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 navigate this into the entire, like almost end. Like I can see if I can get there even like anything close to fast. Yeah, no, it's at the absolute end.
Menu for items. You are currently on a menu inside web content. To move between items in this list, press Control Option right arrow or Control Option left arrow. To exit this web area, press Control Option Shift up arrow.
And this is where, since I don't have any idea of how many users actually, percentage of users that would use the settings daily, I have no clue. Like, but here's where like that beginning, go to the content and maybe have a second option, which is like when you load this page, the screen reader could show you two buttons, right? Or a button group. And then it would say like, go to the main. It actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it could even be more like go to the main, go to the navigation, go to the not playing, go to the settings. This would have been like a really great improvement for screen reader users. And yeah, I'm just humbly putting it out there. If someone from Spotify hears, like, let's talk a little bit about it. Maybe you can give me a bit of extra context. And I think that's pretty much it. Let me just close the screen reader.
Voiceover off.
Command F5 to close it. And that's pretty much it. Like, I don't know. I hope you liked it. Of course, I didn't do like a bit of the sometimes weird thing that would have been like to close my eyes. Probably because I wouldn't be able to navigate this that easily. But also because it would be just weird for me to do that. So I hope that you like to see how like these users that we talk a lot about as designers, but we don't actually get to feel like what they feel. Don't get to eat like the dog food, like we normally say. And so I think like try this yourself. Like start a screen reader. Like visit your web app, visit your website, and see if you can actually understand this just by hearing. Just pretend that you're not seeing. Like try to focus on the hearing part, and that's pretty much it. I hope you like this. Uh, Tell me something about in the comments, like if you have some extra questions, anything like that. I'm always replying to everyone there because let's be honest, like there's not a lot right now. But I'd be happy to engage in the conversation and just tell me something. That's it. Catch you later.